But he got no left hand. He got no left hand. Come on.
Rowdy? Sure.
Oh! Oh!
Aggressive? You could say that.
Tip him, tip him, tip him.
But a problem? No way.
You believe someone's calling to complain about kids playing basketball in the street? You believe that? Yeah. I don't know who called, but obviously I ain't got no problem with it.
He said, let me hold the basketball, and we passed it to him, and he went up and dunked.
And what were you thinking?
How can he dunk? He that short.
And with the click of a button, Officer Bobby White became a prime example of good police work.
Every social media manager dreams of having that viral moment. And when I hit post on that video, it was just another video. I did not think that that was going to be the moment.
It was viewed by 16 million people, but instead of forming the bench, one familiar face showed up a few days later for a rematch.
The second his size 22 foot hit the pavement, those kids knew exactly that Shaquille O'Neal was in their neighborhood.
It was exciting. It's Shaq. What you mean?
Shaq is here. I got all excited, and everybody was inside, so I screamed and told everybody to come outside.
So according to these kids, Shaq is giant. Now we all know that Shaq's a big guy, but in comparison to this basketball hoop, he can touch the very top of the backboard here.
They played for about an hour. It's a game they won't ever forget. O'Neal offered up moves and some words of advice. Antoine Townsend says he'll be passing along to friends.
If they do something bad, I'm gonna tell them to respect their peers, do good in school, and respect their parents and stuff like that.
Is this a day that you will ever forget?
No.
Why?
Because Shaq is my idol. I will never forget that. And when he gave me a hug, it was like everything.
Now, Officer Tobias says he actually wants to thank the caller who put that initial complaint in, because without him, none of this would have happened. He says that the caller apparently thinks that this was some sort of publicity stunt, but Officer Tobias says he doesn't think that he has that kind of pull with Shaquille O'Neal. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and take a shot. Let's see how I do here. Yes! All right. For now, Heather Leigh, Channel 4, the local station.
Just gotta get it done.
A lot of sweat and a whole lot of strength. It may be hard labor.
There's so much stuff you gotta do. People just don't realize it.
But John Lane says his belongings are worth it.
You can't afford to take the chance anymore. You go to sleep and wake up, you're in water.
Some things are less important.
If the water wants that, they can have it.
But his lawnmower, patio furniture, and bass boat
Yard equipment I have to use, pressure washers and stuff like that,
are some of the things he wants to keep safe.
I got a truck loaded with tools and stuff. I'm talking hand tools and stuff like that. So my lawn tools, I just throw in the garage and let them float.
He's been at it for days.
I'm gonna load this right here.
Because he says the last time the water rose, he wasn't ready. John says the last time Black Creek flooded, it ended up right here at about this step, which is about 7 to 8 feet in the air, just skimming underneath his living area.
If the flood comes in here like it did the last time, it'll take all this out from under here.
He says sandbags aren't really an option since he needs so many. So instead, he's moving everything to his mother-in-law's house up the road and hoping for the best.
We get 4 days rain, like they're saying we're going to get. It's already up 2.5 feet to 3 foot now. And what I understand, the north prong's starting to flood now, and I'm on the south prong.
You want to straighten up, then brake.
Michael Dobbs trains hundreds of people a year on how to properly drive one of these.
It's up to the motorcyclist to be seen. That means to be in a certain lane. That means to be in a position that the car can see you.
Dobbs says there are certain things you should always have on before heading out.
They need to have a helmet, a reflector jacket, protective gear.
He says the key to being safe is not just in what you wear. It's about being aware of your surroundings. The same goes for people inside cars.
Let's face it, there's a lot of distractions inside cars these days. And according to Dobbs, you may not hear what's happening outside your car. You may be listening to the radio or putting on makeup. But Dobbs says it's important to check your mirrors and make sure you look behind you before switching lanes.
They need to share the road with the motorcyclists.
He says it's also critical you know how to control the motorcycle, especially if you have to brake quick.
The weight of the motorcycle, it transfers from the back to the front. A lot of people, they don't want to use their front brakes. They just want to use their back brake. So it's very, very important you want to use front and rear brake at the same time.
And he says on curves, never slam on the brakes because most likely the bike will end up sliding out from underneath you.
The doorbell rang, I answered it.
Like it was yesterday.
And he held this part here, and I pulled it this way and fell backwards.
Mary Jane Allen remembers every detail.
I was screaming, but they didn't hear me because they don't have you can't hear nothing through these walls hardly. And I was screaming, and I screamed myself hoarse.
She says Green dragged her into the bedroom.
He grabbed me this way.
And began choking her. In the process, she broke her thumb in 2 places and her face was beginning to bruise. But she believes something divine took over and these pictures may have saved her life.
When he seen that, he stopped and took off.
Police did catch up with Green. He was arrested and indicted on aggravated battery and burglary. He eventually pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 20 years of probation. Allen says when she saw the news last night, she almost couldn't believe it.
I said, what in the world is wrong with him? Why? What was he looking for? What was wrong?
Allen knows police are still investigating what happened the other night, but she says for her, the nightmare is over.
I hope God forgave him. I know Jesus would forgive him. Because that's the first thing they asked me, if I forgave him. And I said yes. I said, why shouldn't I? If Jesus forgives, why can't we forgive?
This is it.
Yeah, this is it.
Getting on the bus, taking the next step.
Take every seat. It's gonna be hard, but I'm just push through it. It's not gonna be easy. There's nothing I can't handle.
Probably not. That's because before all this, Neosha Morris officially became the first female combat engineer in the U.S. Army.
I feel a lot of pressure. I feel a lot of pressure.
That's only natural, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Even though her nerves are being tested. Morris believes this job is something she was meant to do.
I'm more of an outdoorsy person. I like to do extreme stuff, I must admit. I mean, I don't have nothing about sitting behind the desk, but it's just me. I like keep going and running, and I exercise, I play football, basketball, you name it, I did it.
Her mom, Julie, is on board too.
That's a tomboy. She's gonna be just fine.
Even though she had no idea her daughter was taking on such a monumental position.
I didn't until she came back and told me she first female. I said, you the what? She said, I'm the first female. I said, you sure you want to go that route? She said, yeah. And I said, with your brothers and sisters, you done fought and beat up and you can handle it.
All right, board the bus.
Which brings us back to the bus, where Morris begins her future and paves the way for girls across the nation.
Do it. Don't be scared because, you know, it once was a guy job. Come out your boundaries. Do something different. Anything, like I said, anything guys could do, girls could do too.
Do you stop for pedestrians? Maybe?
At first,
Nope.
it was quiet,
Anyone over here? Can I get a honk?
but it didn't take long
Thank you.
for the horns to sound. Woo! There's a lot of educated drivers out there. We witnessed them firsthand.
And he stopped.
Right, plenty of time. He was before the sign, saw it, waited for us to cross the street. He acted properly.
But there are some who either don't know the rules
And he did not stop.
or just don't care.
That one didn't stop.
He gave us a wave, but he did not
Yeah.
stop.
Jason Dominguez, an instructor at Jack's driving school, watches drivers make mistakes on the daily.
Not knowing or not knowing where, you know, where the crosswalks are, and then just going too fast, not paying attention.
He stopped. The other one didn't.
Yeah. And he went by fast.
It's asinine. There's no other way to describe it.
Cassandra Kuhn crosses Prudential Drive at this crosswalk every single day, morning and night.
And I've almost gotten hit at least 3 times in the last 3 months.
And she isn't the only one who fears for their safety.
I run the risk of getting hit every time I cross it, essentially.
According to the Florida Department of Transportation, between 2011 and 2013, 38% of pedestrian crashes in Duval County happened while the person was in the crosswalk. In 2012, JSO reported 24 car versus pedestrian deaths. In 2013, the number was the same. The number dropped to 23 in 2014, but so far this year, Duval County has 27 deaths, and that number is expected to rise around the holidays.
As a licensed driver, you should know to look at the sides of the streets anyway, even if there is no light there, to see what type of signage is there.
News for Jack's crime and safety analyst Gil Smith says drivers need to also obey the speed limit, don't drive distracted, stop before turning right on red, and use your mirrors. But all the responsibility doesn't fall solely on drivers. Pedestrians need to know the rules of the road, too. Smith says typically once a person has their foot in the crosswalk, a car must stop. But don't just assume they will.
Now, if a car is very close to the intersection, you can't just put your foot in and start entering. You have to give the traffic enough time to stop at the intersection.
Let's face it.
You gotta wait for us, lady. Come on.
Safety doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you pay attention.